Good morning, and good morning. How are you this morning? Okay, the sun has a little cast of light, extra light on me right there. I'll be all right because it moves so fast into to by this kitchen window. But this is the best light in the house, and we're gonna use it this morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good evening. Hope you rested. Hope you rested. Today we're going to talk about joy. And I know I've talked about joy before, but when you have been given something that is speakable and other times unspeakable, you know what joy is. You know it. You can feel it. It's something inside you, something maybe you longed for, and then when you get it, it's wonderful. Like I was talking to a young lady this morning, early this morning, and she was telling me that she's got great joy because her gentleman that she'd been seeing for some time came to her job, got down on one knee. After he was just telling her he's bringing lunch, but what he brought was a ring, and that's wonderful, and she has joy. She has joy, even though she's something else has gone on, like a loss of a loved one. But look, but God sent love. Isn't that wonderful? The fact that we can see sometimes within a short period of time both the sorrow and the joy. And sometimes we get mixed up because they come real close to each other, really close. And so we have to understand that when we get joy, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? Do we become enchanted, excited, what I would call have like a little malaise on. Good morning tea. You don't know what to do. You're so excited about this joy that you have. And there's loads of songs, loads of gospel songs and things to say. Good morning, Kiwanis. Thank you. And so all of these things that come with joy, that's what you want. And, some of us, we may find joy once we've really given up a lot of things which have probably brought us pain. We can find joy. Because sometimes to me, peace. Good morning, Miss Rosie. Sometimes peace. Good morning, Joan. Peace gives you joy. The fact that you're not worried about anything. It's under control. It's been given to you as a form of just what I say, reckoning with quietness, reckoning with comfort. To me, to be joyful, not be angst, not to be angry, not to be hurt, or feeling hurt, and I, in fact, I told my niece that I'm gonna speak on hurt because I know a few people that have gone through some hurts lately, and I certainly want to address it. And what I want to do right now is I certainly want to welcome anyone that has been in the military and as a veteran to this, these sessions that we have every morning, Monday through Friday. Are you stuck? Are you stuck? Are you stuck? Veterans, your family members, all that, you're welcome. You're welcome in this space. One of the things I did before I left the federal system was that I worked with people who were probably eventually going to be in a transitional, what I would call modification to their lives. They were going to transition from the military to the civilian workforce, and that was actually my doctorate, the study of that. And I looked at what the workforce would be doing for them, if anything, and how could they get it, and how could they leverage that before they came out. And so we certainly want to welcome anybody that may be in that position on their way out of the military, or if you're on the other side of it and you are a veteran, we welcome you in this space. I welcome women. I welcome young people. I welcome students. I welcome anyone that just wants to make some changes based on their own needs, not based on Sandy's needs, not based on mine at all, but based on what you know you need, what you know you can change. And sometimes change is difficult. But in order for us to recognize how much we've changed, we also have to search for the joy in trying to change. Because sometimes joy is difficult to find if you find no way out. If you are really, really stuck, you're stuck. That's just the way it is. It's so good. I'm glad Joan is in. Joan's been through some stuff with Sally. Sally wasn't nice over there. And so we certainly want to say to Joan and anyone else who went through Sally's raft. And hi, Felicia, is watching. Hello, good morning. We just want to say anybody that went through that we hope that things are straightening out. Our prayers are up for anyone that has been through that storm in such a way that it did damage. And so we're welcoming you here. We can give you a little peace and quiet for a second. I'd give you about 35, 40 minutes of Sandy's, we're going to say Sandy's joy. Okay? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start this morning and say, hey, are you stuck? Periodically, you are going to be stuck. We're all stuck. We're stuck on some of everything you can think of. Okay? Money, relationships, a job, place to live, cars to drive, no gas, whatever it is, okay? It runs the gamut. Our lives are always on Front Street, to say that we have to deal with something in order for something negative not to happen. But this morning we're going to speak to the joy of life, the joy of ourselves, the joy of peace, just joy. Just joy, as they say, unspeakable joy. I'm not going to sing that song. I had no rights. I played it one time, and then I had to go back and write on there. I do not own the copyright to this song. So, I could probably make up some stuff, but we'll wait till I get further up the road, get some more people coming. But anyway, this morning as we're talking about joy, we're going to start with a poem by Khalil Gibran. And Khalil Gibran, to me, is one of the premier poets who writes such wonderful things about life, our lives, our lives. And look up some of his work. And he has really interesting work that's been out there. And he's done it where he puts out little books, or he puts out just a poem, and it goes wild for the people who want to hear it. And it certainly he certainly was an author that we had to study, coming through various English classes or whatever on my way to where I was going. I still had to come across Khalil Gibran. But in this poem it says, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And as I was saying earlier, sometimes we're going to see joy and we'll see sorrow. And sometimes they can be so close. They can be so close where we had joy and then sorrow comes. Or we had sorrow, but guess what? God will deliver us with joy. So before we know it, we've been through almost like, a seasonal change. Because I feel that how we feel about ourselves may be like a season. Let me see what Joan said. Good morning, Mary Lou. But Joan says, thanks, Sandy. We feel joy because we are alive. God has been good through it all. Amen. And Mary Lynn, glad you're here. But anyway, when we speak of joy in this poem, it says, "Then a woman said, 'Speak to us of joy and sorrow.' And he answered, 'Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is it not the cup that holds your wine, the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And it is not the lute that soothes your spirit, the very wood that was hollowed with knives. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it only that which has given you sorrow, that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. remind me, put a pin in it, put a note right there about getting delight after sorrow, and bring it back up in the thread just so I can remember that. It says, but I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only you are empty, are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. That's a great poem. It's a great poem. And I did remember what I wanted to say about the delight. Replacing, delight is replaced where you originally were feeling sorrowful. When something has been weighing on you and almost, making you feel that you're totally out of control, when it scales down and you find that the control has been returned, you're joyful. So basically he's saying that your sorrow and your joy sometimes occupy the same space. And the balance doesn't have to be that it's up and down, but that the balance is that one is calm and the other is equally as happy. So therefore your joy is good. Your joy is only your joy. Other people may not even see your joy because you may hide it all. What they saw was your sorrow. What they saw was your pain. What they saw was your hurt. But sometimes it says unspeakable joy. That may be the joy that isn't even revealed to others. That may be how you feel inside. So the joy of life, of your life, is what you do with it. You can make it where you have it where the scale rises up on the sorrowful side and it goes down on the joyful side, or the opposite. But it's up to you to decide, do you need to balance, or you just need to say, I am joyful. Even when sorrow hits, I'm still living, I'm still caring, I'm still able to do some of the things that I want to do. Therefore, I have joy. I have joy. But anyway, if y'all want to speak on that, put it in the thread there. So I'm getting ready to break the word down of joy. Okay, joy. Joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Great pleasure and happiness. That means there's great excitement, when you're joyful. Great excitement, In fact, I remember when I was little, I would get excited about Christmas. Christmas was always my favorite time when I was coming up. Not that we were necessarily going to get anything big, because, there were a lot of kids and, and I was the kind of kid that whatever I got, I was going to be humble about it. Now that didn't say that I didn't want what I saw other kids have. I'm a kid. Okay. I was a kid, but I understood that if we all got something and we were happy, then we were good. That was joyful. So I was always excited. My mother would always say, Sandra, if you don't settle down, I would just be jumping all around and said, what time is Santa coming? Well, I should have known inner city. He wasn't coming up in there. But anyway, eventually my brothers told me that Santa was my mom and dad. So therefore, spoiled the story. But anyway, to have joy is to be delighted, to be jubilant, to be triumphant, to have glee, to be, exuberant, elated, to have a euphoria. That's what I was talking about, that sometimes you're on cloud nine. I'm quite sure when my little young friend got her ring, I'm quite sure she said I was surprised, but I was on cloud nine. Okay. I was just floating, feeling good. But then there's also the bliss of joy, the ecstasy of joy, the rapture, the enjoyment, the gratification, the pleasure, the treat, the thrill, the buzz, and the kick. All of those things speak to what joy does to. Having joy is it's just darn right pleasant. There's no other way to put it. It's just a pleasant feeling. It's a way of acting like cares aren't there. You don't have any cares. When you're joyful, you're joyful. And certainly things can pull us down. We can go back to what was causing us to feel bad or feel depressed or anxious or whatever it was. And we can always get in touch with those things. But when joy comes, I'm telling you, it's just a wonderful feeling. So when we break down joy, we're going to start with the J being jubilation. Jubilation. It says it's a feeling of great happiness and triumph. You are just on cloud 55. It's all the way up there for you. It's amazing what being joyful does for your heart. It says it also does great things for your mind. Like it says, when you are joyful, you're not going to be depressed. You're not. You're feeling good. You're feeling great. You're feeling great. It says, so it talks about there being almost like an exaltation when you're under this whole process of feeling jubilant. There's a rejoicing, the euphoria. It says the rapture, the glee, and the exuberance. So all of those things really say what joy does for your heart, your head, your walk. Because sometimes you can tell when people are feeling good. They don't even need you to tell them that they're feeling good. They looking it. They're looking the part. They look the part of feeling well. They look the part of being happy, being joyful, being excited about what's taking place in their lives. So therefore, they don't need any help. You might encourage it, certainly, and say, boy, I don't know what's going on, but you look so happy. You look lovely. You're looking wonderful. Certainly acknowledge it for them, especially if there's certainly been on the other side of that. You want to address it. Now, the O of joy. Good morning, sunshine. The O of joy is for oasis, an oasis. And a lot of times we when you go back and people are talking about the things when they really were able to grab onto something that was especially theirs. Okay, sunshine, be joyful for all day. All day you got to be joyful. All day. And tomorrow too. But anyway, it says that they really want something that's just theirs. Something where they go and there's peace there. There's love there. So it says an oasis is a small fertile or green area in a desert region, usually having a spring or a well, something serving as a refuge. So even if you don't talk about, we know that none of us have a piece of land in the desert that we're going to when we talk about our oasis. But it may be the luxuriousness of your bathroom. It may be your bedroom. It may be going on travel, going to, a hotel, going to a spa, going to something that really invigorates you, helps you realize who you are in the midst of everything else that was going on outside. You have this time to just bring it all together, whatever that together consists of. But it says something serving as a refuge or a relief or a pleasant change from what is usually going on. And it says it may be usually annoying or difficult. Okay? So that's what we want. Good morning, Maurice. So the oasis is your place of what I would say control, meaning you don't have to do anything. The control is there. It's comfort. It's a period of mindlessness. It's a period of rest. It's a period of refuge. Refuge. No one else is up in there with you. And if they are, then that means you're both in this oasis together. A retreat for a husband and wife. Maybe even just going to a movie, holding hands, something simple. It doesn't have to be the grandstand. An oasis is just a place where peace can be found. It says it could be the watering place or watering hole. It could be a spring. It could be Nama. It could be a retreat, sanctuary, a sanctum, a shelter, an asylum, a hideaway. Hideaway. That's where I was trying to go. A harbor. It could be, because sometimes they said going out on the water. Now, I never found water to be that peaceful because I had too much fear. So the fear rose up above the level of what I was going to be able to get out of it. I'm still not going to do it. It says it could be the hideout, the fountain, the pond, the pool, or the spa. So all those things really talk about how do I capture this joy of just existing without too many requirements on me. Just chilling out. Just what I would say and partying with myself and maybe someone else. I'm just enjoying my life of simplicity. That's what the oasis is all about. That gives you joy, because it says it springs you back into feeling better just because no one's requiring you to do anything at work, or your children aren't calling on the phone, or you don't have to take some time out to go to a meeting, or just finding ways. Yes, observing nature's beauty. That's another way. Absolutely. I have a friend who absolutely loves being outside. As long as it's not raining, that's where she is. And her lawn looks like it. Okay? You can come over my house, and I'll tell you now, I had somebody do what's done. At one time, my yard was probably considered the best on the block. But then, the man that was doing my lawn, his wife died. He remarried, and the new wife didn't want him doing that kind of work anymore. So, my lawn has suffered ever since. So I no longer have my oasis where I can just go out to it, meaning I didn't contribute anything other than to pay for it to get done. But the idea is that somebody was taking care of it for me, and I loved it. And one day, maybe if I get my druthers about me, I will find somebody else who can have that commitment where they show up and actually do a good job on making my lawn look wonderful. The last letter in joy is yummy. And you say, well, okay, come on, Sandy. Why you take yummy? Because when you are joyful, something good to eat, something that you see has a yumminess to it. It exudes something that you just love. As I said, it could be the taste of some food. Sometimes, I remember when I was little, my mother was like the best cook ever. And people always wanted her to cook. And she cooked for everybody all the time. But she never ate. She cooked, tasted, make sure it was good. Then she may get a little something later on that evening. But rarely did she ever sit with us. She felt it was her obligation to make sure we ate well and we got to see her cook. Well, I watched my mother cook. So yes, I can cook. I don't have to, but since the pandemic, I certainly, well, I've always cooked, but I cook more now, only because I'm afraid to go out. In fact, I bought some meat yesterday in Publix. And y'all tell me if I did right. I probably shouldn't have done it, but I wanted half of the pack. And so at Publix, they tell you can have half of the pack. It's okay. Just tell them how much you want, and they will repack it. But the guy went behind the area back in the kitchen, but I could see him. I followed him, but I could see him, and I said, I'm thinking he didn't use gloves. I'm thinking that he didn't. But then I said, well, okay, maybe he did and pulled them off before. But then when he handed me the meat, I didn't see any gloves. So even though I walked away with this look on my face of needing to go back and confront, I said, I'm going to just trust God that he's going to make that food all right for me. So, of course, I took it. I came back and, You know, I didn't let it sit. I cooked it immediately and cooked it to a high temperature. So, you know, if there was something there. But, you know, I think the next time I go back there, I would say gloves are required or I don't want it, you know. And I know it's a little over the top because the meat has already been packaged up, meaning that somebody already touched it. So to have it touched again certainly was grossing me out. But anyway, when I think about, you know, just as a child, I always loved for my mother to cook things, and everybody thought her food was yummy. And so that's what I do. You know, I love things to taste yummy. I may not eat a lot of it, but I love it. So yummy is like very pleasing to the senses. So it's not just food. It could be something that you smell. I mean, I've had perfumes where people have stopped me and say, "Lady, hey, wait a minute. That smells yummy. What is that?" And I'll tell them, and they said, "I'm going to get that for somebody. Because I'm going to get it for myself. Or I'm going to get it for somebody." So, you know, sometimes it's not just taste. It can deal with the other senses. It says, but especially taste could be delicious. And a lot of times it may be extremely attractive or appealing. It could be delectable. It could be delightful, juicy, luscious, poignant, piquant, succulent, and tasty. So all those speak to what yummy does. So yummy can appeal to our smell, but it could also appeal to our taste. Okay, it says you have to try to protect yourself even if no one else does. You got that right. Absolutely. So I probably should have said more to him. And I said, well, maybe I just missed them, but I don't think I missed them. You know, I only have one eye, but guess what? That eye sees pretty good. You know, it says when one of your eyes or your ear is out, then it says the other area will you know, rise to the occasion. So I still see well. Okay. It's just that I understand that I said, I don't know. I need to address that. So the next time I go back, I will address it. He was a young guy, and I said, well, maybe he just didn't know, but maybe I just need to tell him, you know. And I think I'll tell management. I'm not going to even confront him because he will either have forgotten it or deny it or something. And I think you sometimes have to go up instead of direct, you know, because direct meant I should have said something right there. Oh, Joan says, my mother was a great cook. I loved her homemade chicken and dumplings. Wow. That's wonderful. My mother made those too. Now, you know, I don't like them. I don't care who makes them. I don't care who makes them. I just don't like any breads or anything that are wet. So, if you ever invite me to dinner, okay. All right. But I mean, I love so many other things. You know, I like everything probably almost burnt. You know, it has to be cooked. Whatever's in it needs to just have just the least little bit of what is left in the nutritious state of it prior to it being totally, totally dead. But that's when I'll eat it. You know, I don't know where it came from, but you know, I just have always been like that. Even as a child, just never could handle anything that was too mushy. You know, I'd be at the table for hours, because my mother finally said, "Okay, just go on, get up, because you're not gonna eat." And I didn't eat it, and I barely did. I ask her for anything else. As they say, I was good. I was glad just to get up. I was glad to get out. And sometimes she would spoil me because she would make me other stuff, because sometimes as a parent, you just know what your kids are not going to eat. You know, they're not going to eat it. They may have allergies to it. They may be just finicky. I knew I was finicky. And as a finicky person, I'm finicky now. So, you know, I tell people ahead of time, don't go to any great trouble for me. Because even if you do, I still may not eat it, or I may not eat a lot of it. So here's the questions for the day about your joy. You know, how many of you, right in there right now, how many of you feel that since Sally, if you're in the area, that you've found joy? How many of you, if you're in other portions of the country, maybe around the fires, maybe dealing with the pandemic, are you still finding joy? Just put yes in there or no. Okay? And the only reason I'm doing this, I want you to mark time for yourself from today so that you can say, I felt joy on that day, you know, and then get in touch with what it is that brought you joy. You know, I'm joyful when I come into this opportunity to talk with you every day. So I find joy that way. But I'm quite sure, you know, I have other ways of finding joy too. You know, when I complete a project, when thank you, Sunshine. Sunshine said yes. Yes. Sunshine is a sweetheart. She and her sister, we hung out a minute yesterday. Distantly though. Lavender, yes. Okay, Lavender. All right. I'm joyful. You know, I know Lavender's made some great strides, changes in her life over the last, 3 years, and she's doing her thing. You know, she has a book out called The Other Woman. It's a magazine that comes out 3 times a year. I am a subscriber. Love it. Great stuff for women. I think you should contact her through Candy Publishing. You can go on you can actually just punch it right into your Facebook pages and do a search, and her information will come up on how you can get access to her books. But absolutely great stuff. You know, I'm going to be a contributor one day when I settle down. But right now I'm still feeling a little crazy. Lots going, lot of arms in the fire, hands in the fire too. But I'm happy and I am joyful. I am finding joy. So here's some questions for today. Question number 1. Do you have, I'm going to ask you the same question I just asked you. Do you have or have you known joy? Yes or no? And if you did, what kind of joy was it? What precipitated that joy? You know, was it a new love? Was it a new house, a new car? Was it finding God? What was it? What was it? Question number 2. Have you ever been so joyful that you were absolutely jubilant when you were on cloud 55 and you couldn't settle down? You know, couldn't settle down. I'm quite sure a lot of women are like that, you know, if they decide, you know, they're going to marry and, you know, getting all the preparations together. In fact, I'm helping somebody plan their wedding now, and they're excited. I can hear it in their voice and, you know, the decisions they're making, and, you know, so we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Okay, number 3. Do you have a place that is your own oasis? Do you have a place? Your bathroom, your car. Sometimes just getting in my car, if somebody's, you know, bugging me with a lot of demands in terms of, you know, projects due, this, that, and the other. Sometimes I can just get in my car and I'm cool. I put on my music. I put it on loud too. I got them big speakers. Crank it up. Crank it up. And right now I'm still into Hamilton, you know, so I know all the songs, like What Have I Missed? I love that song, you know, but anyway, so Maurice says yes, to be free to do what I want. Absolutely. Great. Jones is absolutely. Yeah, so sometimes my car gives me that peace, that oasis. I remember my bathroom. I hated my bathroom because every time I would go in there was, you know, somebody outside knocking on the door. When you coming out? So it was never my peaceful place. And now I need to update it in order to make it my peaceful place. So Marie says, family, and after stressing on next steps, I see things working out for me. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, a lot of times I feel just like what Khalil Gibran says, the balance is that you're going to have the stressful stuff and the joyful stuff nearing each other. You know, they could be right there, you know, but sometimes that's when you realize that you're joyful, is when you realize that you're no longer focusing on your stressfulness on your sadness, on your hurt, on your anger, on your frustration, then you're joyful. You're joyful. My favorite is, it must be nice. Oh, yeah. It must be nice. It must be nice to have a Hamilton on your side. Okay. I sorry I digress, but you all have to. If you all can't do anything else, if you can just find somebody that has Disney Plus and listen to that, it is so creative. And the wonderful thing about it is that you see a lot of all ethnicities in there. I mean, Manuel did a wonderful job of just making black characters that you know in real life. Okay. William Burr was not black. He was not black. He just wasn't, you know. So that just makes everything so cool, is that you just see things differently, and you understand that you can be joyful. So sometimes that's what I do. I get in my car, I put on my music, sometimes gospel, sometimes Hamilton, because I bought the CDs. And then I try to save it to I have like this drive in my car that'll save the number of songs you wanted. I think it'll save up to 75. So, I think that's all of Hamilton. That's all of Hamilton. But anyway, I'm hoping that you are writing things down, that you're planning on eventually writing a book, eventually writing something that certainly does some things for you. Okay, Joan says, traveling through the pages of a book. There I go. I just said that. Or a good documentary or movie. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Did anyone see Good Trouble on Sunday? John Lewis? Yeah. I taped it because I had a church kind of thing I think was going on that evening. I don't know. All the days are running together of Zooming. I Zoom and Zoom and Zoom. So, but I haven't watched it yet, but I know it's good. I saw parts of it. I flipped through it the other day. And so I just know that there's great documentaries. Sometimes you can even escape and find joy in just understanding what other people have gone through to give us some peace, to give us some sense of self, just for what their troubles were. But anyway, I want you to have a great day. Find joy. If you don't have it, find it, and set aside a place that's your oasis, just for you. Or if you want somebody, bring them too. But make it your oasis where there's not very many other people and things involved in it. Just very simplistically yours. And be kind. Be kind. I said I wasn't going to say much about the debate. Debate was rough last night. I did watch it, and I tell you, I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime of people, such disrespect, such disrespect. And if somebody talked to me like that, I probably would have walked off. But I know, because it is the highest office in the land, that, you have to stay for the fight. You have to stay for it. You do. But anyway, I love each of you. I want you to have a grand day, a super evening, and be ready for tomorrow when we'll talk about another topic tomorrow morning. Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Johns. And you all who came late, y'all can listen to this. I'm going to share it in a few seconds. But we'll see you tomorrow. We'll have something good. All right. I thank you. Have a good day. Love you too. And please share. Thanks. Bye-bye.